Let's talk about Guild Academies of Valeria, a dice drafting, tile placement game where professors train students to go on quests. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald. In this episode, we're going to talk about Guild Academies of Valeria from Daily Magic Games. This is a new game that delivered on Kickstarter not too long ago. It's up for pre-order at many game stores now. Here's the box with that great artwork that you see in all of the Valeria games. Guild Academies of Valeria is a game for between 1 and 4 players. Kids age 14 and up can figure this one out, although it is a bit of a brain burner. And games take 90 minutes to a couple of hours to play, maybe a little bit longer depending on the number of players. Let's take a deeper look at Guild Academies of Valeria. Guild Academies of Valeria is a medium weight game in terms of its complexity. There is a lot to wrap your head around here. And as I said, it's about dice drafting. What you're trying to do is train these dice. These are your students. You're trying to train your students, send them on quests, earn the most victory points. That's how you win this game. Earn the most victory points after 4 rounds of play. This is only the bottom half of the board. This is quite a table hog, Guild Academy. So I wanted to show you the important parts, the docks here where the dice are going to be drafted from, and then we could talk a little bit more about the player board and all of the tiles. You can't even see the other tiles on the side. The prestige tiles go up here at the top, and then there's some town classes that you can put into your tableau that you're going to be building. But this is a really important part of the board. We'll talk a bit more about the top when we get to council placement and banners. Oh my gosh, there's a lot to think about in this game. But mainly what you're doing here is drafting dice. And dice with higher numbers are going to be more powerful. So at the beginning of each round, you're going to roll dice. You place a number of dice equal to the player count plus 1. And then you're going to do a little bit of worker placement. It's not a game where you can block spots for the other players. So all of the players can go to the same dock if they want to, but you are sort of racing to get the dice that you want to put onto your board. You draw those dice randomly from a bag, and you can see in the case of the dice I've drawn here, really there's only one red die. Those are your soldier students, and so there might be a race to get players that might want to get their hands on that one red die. Each player is going to have 3 of these stewards, so you can draft from 3 out of the 4 docks. You can't draft twice from the same one, but you can draft from 3 out of the 4 docks, and there's an action associated with each one. You might be grabbing town tiles for your classroom. You might be able to place banners on the council. That's going to give you some abilities either during the game or some victory points at the end of the game. This placement also allows you to grab one of these favor tokens that these are one-time use abilities that can get you an extra professor or an extra student or some extra knowledge or allow you to flip dice. So these are single-use chits that you can earn by placing your worker here on this second dock. If you place your steward at this dock, you're going to be able to grab one of these professors. You can see they've got this crazy hairstyle and they have colors that match the dice. Finally, over here at the end, this is a spot where you can draft one of these dice, of course. Each of these areas, you're going to draft a die and then take an action. So you can draft one of the dice and then you can grab a guild classroom. And once you see how this tableau starts to build out, all of these classrooms are super important for earning victory points, but also just to be able to take actions during the game. In addition to these main dock actions, you can spend gold to take an additional action, which might allow you to get some magic or to move your banner or place a banner in the council. It might allow you to grab one of these favor tokens. So there are a number of choices that you're making in this game. There's a final choice down here. It says banking action. So I could, instead of taking the action of the dock, I could grab a die and get gold instead of drafting one of those tiles or getting a professor. Once you've chosen your actions and you've placed your tiles in your tableau, you're going to start educating those students. And that means you're going to place students and professors in the classrooms in order to earn whatever the reward is for that class. One of the things that you're trying to do in this game is to increase the value on these dice so that it's above 6, and that's going to allow that student to graduate. And then once they're graduated, they can start doing quests. The quests are going to earn you some bonuses and some victory points, and also cause you to have to discard your die. So you've got space in your tableau for 9 of these students, but as they graduate, they're going to be leaving. They're going to go back into the dice bag and be rolled out and recruited later on. As you complete quests, so for example, you're going to need, for this quest over here, you'll get 7 victory points if you've got 3 soldier graduates. As you complete those quests, you'll earn the victory points. You're going to be moving this tracker across the board, and eventually every second space there's something special that's going to happen. So here you're going to get one of these purple prestige tiles, these are called, and these go into your tableau as well, but they're not classrooms. These are going to earn you victory points. And really, this is the main way. You're going to complete some quests, but the main way you're going to earn tons of points is through the placement of these prestige classes. This one right here is going to give you 2 victory points for each of the correct kind of tile that's orthogonal to it. So you could earn a pile of points if you've got a few of these in your tableau. Other tiles will earn you points for having the right symbols in your tableau. So there are lots of ways you're going to earn points in this game, but primarily they're coming from completing quests and placing these prestige tiles in the right places on your board. Once you get to the middle here, you can trade 2 tiles in your tableau. You can move them, swap spots of 2 tiles in your tableau, which is really great as you're building things up to allow you to maximize the number of points. And these are the council members where you're going to be placing your banners. And the green ones here, the lower council, these are the ones that are going to give you some kind of ongoing bonus or ability. You might get a discount when you're drafting certain kinds of tiles, or some bonus when you take a particular professor. So there are lots of ongoing bonuses here, but by the time you're moving up to the 4th round, these bonuses aren't going to be as important. You want to have as many banners as possible. In the upper council, these are the ones that get you victory points. You might get points for having some gold. You might get points for certain configurations of symbols within your tableau. You might get points for having a certain number of professors. For example, this guy's going to give you 3 points for every 3 professors that you've drafted along the way. So these fellows up at the top are going to give you lots of extra points, and they can be kind of a decider in the game. So moving and you've only got 3 of these banners that you can place. So moving those from the ongoing ability to the victory point ability becomes really essential as you're getting closer to the end of the game. This is what your tableau will look like towards the end of the game. You can see that there are all of these classrooms with roads that connect to one another. So it's a little puzzle that you're building. Your player board is down here at the bottom, where you keep your professors until you're ready to move them into those classes. You keep your students on this garden path along the way so that they can be placed as well. At the bottom here of the player board, you've got your tracker for your gold, which you'll use to draft those dice. Depending on the number up here, it's going to cost you more gold to grab the die from the dock. So this would cost me 6 gold if I wanted this number 6. And your magic, which will allow you to increase the value of a die when you place it in a classroom. The other thing that you might notice here, these round circular tiles, and these are called monuments. Each time you complete a circle in your tableau, you get to grab one of these monuments, and these again are for the most part, these are single-use abilities. Some of them give you victory points at the end. Completing those circles is really a part of the equation here. So you're kind of building 2 puzzles. You're trying to complete as many of the circles as possible. At the same time, you're trying to place the tiles in a manner that's going to allow you to earn as many points as possible. So here, this prestige tile is going to give you points for adjacent gray tiles. This one over here is giving you victory points for surrounding tiles. So this one's huge. You're going to get 18 points, I think, if I've added it up right, just from this one tile being in the middle and surrounded by all of these other ones. What skills, though, are you working on when you play Guild Academies of Valeria? Well, there's certainly a visual spatial component here because you're building those two simultaneous puzzles, trying to maximize the number of monuments that you can get and placing tiles in a way that's going to earn you points. Choosing tiles too that work with the dice that you've drafted and the professors that you've hired along the way as well is very important. So you've got that spatial component of organizing things in order to maximize the number of points you're getting. This is a game, though, too, that involves executive functioning skills. Executive functions are the skills and behaviors that you need to work towards a goal. And my goodness, you have to think ahead in this game. I mean, you're probably not just going to have a space that's just open in the middle of all of these tiles. You're going to be planning ahead to grab that and then making sure that you get the tiles that you can surround this one. And at the same time, if you get another tile that gives you some extra, I mean, there's a lot of things that you're thinking about, and you're planning ahead in terms of tile placement. You're planning ahead in terms of which dice are you drafting. You are really trying to maximize the efficiency with which you're doing your turns. You never have enough resources to do all of the things that you want. You're budgeting your goal to make sure that you've got enough to get the dice that you want. You're budgeting your magic to make sure that you're able to increase the knowledge just so that you can complete a quest or I mean, there's so many things that are happening here when you play this game. And so you're juggling a lot of information, and when you're juggling information in your mind, one important executive function is working memory, which is literally that, working with information in memory. Whenever you're multitasking or trying to juggle lots of things, keeping multiple kinds of information and awareness all at once, that is a working memory exercise, a super important skill when you're thinking about doing things like mental math even. And there's a lot of mental math here too. So there are a lot of skills that you're working on, and there's so much information to juggle. We did find ourselves, you get some of these games, even though they're medium in terms of how complex they are, this is a game where you're going to be staring at the board and staring at the tiles that are available to draft and looking at the dice and thinking about how much gold you have and trying to do things in the right order so that you have enough gold to buy all of the things that you need. I mean, there's so many things to think about. So you really are stretching that working memory muscle when you play Guild Academies. Final thoughts about Guild Academies of Valeria. Well, it's a Valeria game, first of all, and I haven't played a Valeria game that I didn't like. I think the first one I tried was Thrones of Valeria, and then I played Card Kingdoms and Dice Kingdoms. This is another great addition. It's got the artwork that's kind of matching up with the other games, so it's very easy to recognize as a Valeria game, and the art is great. I haven't also played a Valeria game where I didn't enjoy the artwork. The components are great. You've got those nice dice bags and professor bags with the picture of the professor on them. And then you've got that combination of mechanisms. Dice drafting does seem to be a popular mechanism lately. The dice drafting games were few and far between years ago when I first started doing these videos. But I've played several dice drafting games recently, and this adds the multiple puzzles of the tile placement and the monument placement and calculating those victory points. It adds the complexity of needing to discard your dice once you've graduated them, and how do you do that in a way that's going to prevent you from falling behind? I did fall behind at the end, but it was mostly because of the tile placement with the I didn't manage to get one of these ones that gave you so many points for having other tiles around it. It's a game where you're also doing worker placement, and I like worker placement games too. So there's a lot of choice in terms of the actions that you can choose to take. The choices were always puzzly. It was always fun to kind of think about, but it took some time. It was just complicated enough without taking too long to play. I'll be very honest with you. The person who came over to play this, I didn't get to play this with my kids. One of my friends came over to play it with me, and he went home afterwards and texted me to say, I just pre-ordered that game. I liked it so much. So this game was a hit with our little group. There's not a downside that I can think of. and I would say that about most of the Valeria games that I've played, except, I mean, it's a table hog. You need lots of room. The board is big, and then you need spaces for your player boards, and then you need spaces for your tableaus. I think it would play better with 3. I think 3 would be an ideal number of players. You get a little bit more of the interplay in terms of racing to complete those quests and taking the dice that the other players want without bogging people down too much, waiting in between their turns. So, you might play best with a larger number of players, but my goodness, we had a great time playing this game. So, Daily Magic, once again, you've created a great Valeria game. I can't wait to get this to the table with my kids. I will include some information about pre-orders for Guild Academies of Valeria in the show notes below the video. But if you have any questions or comments, you can, of course, leave them in the comments section below, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go. The previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the X handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.